What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Jice. I only have a couple of minutes today because I got to go and work with some new business owners. I'm giving a class on goal setting and how to actually accomplish your goals. That right there is important because most of us don't accomplish our goals. Peace, peace, peace. What's up, y'all? Come on in. Let me start off. I'm getting better at this. I'm starting off by saying thank you for coming on in. Hey, peace, sis. How are you? Thank you for coming on in. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you subscribe. Please share. Look, I'm getting good. I'm getting good. So I'm trying to get in here every like Tuesday and Thursday. So I hope that's all right with y'all. I'm gonna come in here and start talking about all kinds of things like around money and mindset in the Black community. That's a lot of what I focus on. Look, my shirt even says morals over money. This shirt is getting ready to be available on our BBI site. So morals over money. I don't know. I think I'm up high enough. Morals over money, y'all. But yeah, I talk a lot to money and mindset in the Black community. And so my goal, I used to go live often on Facebook. My goal is to be live over here on YouTube more consistently. So expect to see me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I just want to talk a little bit about why we got to stop complaining. Barack Obama said this in a speech, and I'm not going to give the full context of his speech because, he's long-winded and eloquent when he speaks. But, he put in there that Black folks got to stop complaining. This is a speech from a while ago. This isn't anything new, but it's actually been something that has kind of resonated and stuck with me, right? Because it was a controversial statement. Like, we have reason to complain, and we do have reason to complain. Where do you go to invite me to a backpack drive? So my website, my email address is info@bbiprofessional.com. That comes direct to me. info@bbiprofessional.com. All right. So what's up, y'all? So yeah, let me give you the backstory, right? So again, like I believe sometimes we throw out the baby with the bathwater. I actually believe oftentimes we throw out the baby with the bathwater. And I try not to do that, right? So I don't have to agree, but I sit here and I take in a lot of information because oftentimes, even if you're on some bullshit, like it doesn't mean that you don't have a valid point or that you don't have some way that you see things that that I can learn from or glean from, or even to have a better understanding of a different point of view, which could oftentimes help me to strengthen what I'm saying or what my argument is or whatever the case might be, right? So I do spend a lot more time listening than I do, always trying to just throw out and be necessarily argumentative. I try to see both sides of the coin, right? So anyway, he made this comment, and I'm not going to get into what he talked about, but just the comment itself like resonated with me and has stayed with me for quite some time, which is why it's not a new speech. It's something he said a while ago, but why I'm just now talking about it, right? So Black should stop complaining. I'm like, okay, let me think on that. Let me marinate on that. Like at the end of the day, we got a lot of shit we could complain about. We have a lot of things that are valid reasons and excuses for us to complain. So then I started kind of pulling back on that and asking myself, like, how is complaining helpful, right? And where is it that Black people go wrong? And I want to look at some of the things that have happened recently that Black folks get left out of. And I believe and I know that there are systemic reasons as to how we get left out of these certain types of things. But just put some stuff into perspective. So you have the LGBTQ community, LGBTQ, the whole whatever acronym comes after that, because I know they've added some other letters on now, and I don't keep up with that. Okay, so that community, they complain, right? But I feel like they have spent a lot less time complaining, and instead they have like moved in places where they have gotten a lot of influence, right? So now you're starting to see like the first governor of this, like Colorado's governor is a gay man, right? And there's like other places of influence and other places and positions of power where they have gotten themselves into, and they understand the system. They understand how the pieces move on the board, right? They begin to understand all of those things, and because of that, they begin to operate out of like this place of influence versus just a place of complaining. So, not to say that you won't hear some people complain, because that's just the nature of people, but what have they done as a collective to advance their message, right? I had an opportunity to listen to this podcast today. That it's not a podcast that I listen to frequently, but I'm picky around the interviews or whatever that I listen to. So I was listening to this one interview today around a woman who started Rise, and so the short version of that is she was raped. She found out as a part of her understanding the process that happened to her and kind of going through this legislative process. She began to see where all these breakdowns were. So she goes through this whole scenario and this whole situation, just having an understanding of, okay, I was raped, and I'm being told I have like 2 years to wait for a trial. My rape kit expires and gets thrown away in 6 months. All these limitations around what was getting ready to happen to her or for her if she wanted to fight the person who had raped her, right? So what happened was she like very quickly, because time was not on her side, she understand the legislative process to advocate for herself, right? How do I advocate for myself as a rape victim and make sure that the information that they collected, the DNA, the rape kit that they collected, isn't tossed out in 6 months, but my trial isn't expected for 2 years? Like, how does that make sense? By the time we get to trial, they won't even have any of my stuff. She started to find out that they were charging her for things, and she's like, why would I be charged for these types of things, right? Ended up spiraling into a place where they built this entire organization, and they have actually made several major legislative changes. So if you go and look up Rise, you can start to find out like what Rise has done and their history and their track record of being able to change legislation. But here's what I heard is this woman said, this happened to me. I can complain about the system or I can change the system, right? We often are not in those types of positions to be able to change, and the system is set up against us, right? But what I will also say is that oftentimes we really don't even understand how the system works, and so what happens is that we are not operating from this place of influence. And then one of my homies, Negus Vu, he's up there. All these little pieces just started coming together for me, which is why I'm talking about this today. But he made this post today, and he was just like, Black folks would. I'm not quoting him, but he said something to the tune of, Black folks would do better if we understood the difference between power versus status, right? So I'm like going through the dialogue on that post, and what was starting to happen was quite a many of people were using power and status like synonyms. And although they may complement each other, like if you have power, you can have status. If you have status, you can have power, but you can have status without power. And so what was happening was people, quite a few people were like, they're one and the same, or you have to have both, or whatever the case is, right? And so he had posted a article, or someone posted an article, which kind of explained the difference between the two. And I'm gonna try and see if I can get him to come on like next Tuesday with me and have a conversation around status and power and what that means inside the Black community, and maybe how us not having a solid understanding around power versus status, how that maybe harms us as a community in terms of how we get to move things forward. Because ultimately, we could look at somebody who has a kind of put them on a platform or whatever, right? But it doesn't that they have power to make changes inside of a system, or have power to exert any decisions over something. Like, you can have status but not power, right? So for example, here locally in the Black business community, I think I'm building a status, right? Like I definitely go places and people know who I am. I've been working with Black owned businesses in on the ground in Colorado for 5 years. I've went out and done networking campaigns in order for me to get known on the ground, so that Black businesses would know me as a resource, would trust me, would know my face, know what I bring to the table, and I could begin to work with us to help make changes, right? So I would say like there's a level of status, but now where do I sit in terms of power to make changes for the Black business community? I can't stop any of the gentrification that's happening downtown, or that's happening, in our housing sectors. I haven't been able to change any legislation or policy around how we have access to capital or access to funding. I'm disseminating information. And because of that, I definitely have people who look up to me, or I have people who want to partner with me. I have people who I want to partner with. We're building a community around the issues, but where is it that we have the actual power to make the changes that we need, right? So even when we think about like the ADOS conversation, ADOS is saying, if you are an American descendant of slavery, here are the things that are owed to you that the government owes to you. Okay, that's great. So now you have some people who have some status who are shedding light on a subject matter, who are shedding light on an issue. That's activism. Now, where is the organization around the issue so that we can leverage power to make the changes? And so oftentimes we spend a lot of time complaining about what the plights are, right? But if you're fucking Black in America, you know what the plights are. You know what the cost is every time you walk out of your house, right? You can be accosted in your own driveway. We've seen it, right? So we know what the issues are. We know what happens in our schools. We know what happens on our jobs. We know what happens when we walk into the bank to buy a home, or to buy or to get financing for our businesses. We know what happens when we walk into the nail salon. We know what happens when we walk into the store. They follow us around. We know these things, right? So one of the things that I valued at one point, and I do, let me not say at one point, that's not what I meant to say. One of the things that I value is an organization that I work with. I've on a sabbatical for a few months now, but I work with an organization called Shop Talk Live. And one of the things that I value about Shop Talk Live is that it gives voice and a platform to Black people who want to complain. And I don't even say that in a mean way. Like, I think it's therapeutic to be able to voice sometimes the things that we can't voice, right? I had posted yesterday or the day before about a setback that I had in my own life. I was expecting some things to come through. A whole deal situation that I was working on fell all the way flat, and it was like a domino effect of some other things that the deal isn't gone, but it got pushed back, right? So I gotta like revamp my whole plan. Okay, so I was upset, and what I came to the realization was, I am here at home. I get to be upset. I get to talk to my parents and have them help me calm down and counsel me. I get to talk to my homegirl who encouraged me. I get to go outside. I get to be with my kids. I get to cook dinner. I get to regroup. I get to sit in front of my altar and just pray things out and meditate things out and restructure. But most Black folks in America don't get to do that. When something happens to you, you are stuck at work. You're stuck on your job somewhere. You're stuck at school somewhere. You're around colleagues or people who are not really your friends, right? You're around all these other elements and you don't get to process. So we need a safe space to be able to process. And that's, to a great extent, in my opinion, what a lot of social media has become. It's become this platform where you can voice all these things that are happening, things that make you angry, things that make you sad, things that, you want to, essentially, that you say you want to fight, right? Things that anger you. I can't believe that happened. I can't stand these folks, right? But after you do all that complaining, then what? Then what? So one of the number one complaints that we receive in Shop Talk is the then what? We have people who consistently come and we love that support. And then we've had people who are like, yeah, I used to come, but I don't come because there's no solutions, right? And we do try and address solutions inside of Shop Talk, but ultimately it is a space, it is a platform where you can come and you can voice your opinion and ain't nobody going to do nothing to you. And you're in a space that is predominantly all of us. Our Shop Talk in Denver, we allow other people to come in, but we let them know we talking about Black folks issues. Our shop talk in the DMV, we have a shop talk over in the DMV area. White folks is not allowed up in there. That is an all Black space. But ultimately, it's a safe space. It's created to be a safe space for Black people to be able to download and really process and talk about those things that really are affecting us, right? I think there's validity in that. But it's then what? Because oftentimes we have to move that activism of like shedding light onto something into actual organization. Where are we organizing? Where are we identifying the power players? Where are we targeting them, right? Where are we understanding the legislative process in order for us to actually utilize it and work, make it work in our event for our advantage? So just again, kind of like going back to this podcast, like the way this young lady was talking, she was like, she said she would how to hack Congress is how I think she framed it. How to hack Congress. And basically she was like, we do a lot of this take a poll, right? Or sign your name on this petition, call your senator, call your legislator. And she was like, oh snap. Hold on, my bad. It was dogs fighting outside. I got dogs. I had to make sure when nobody fighting my dog. My bad, y'all. Okay. I got dogs. I just want to make sure my dogs is good. What was I saying? So she was talking about how to hack Congress, and ultimately what she was saying is that we go to like our local. First of all, we don't even know how we can go to our legislators. We don't know how to even address our legislators, right? So again, that status and power thing, because I've watched people approach legislators with this like timidness, like, oh my goodness, here's a photo op. I've got, a picture with Congresswoman so-and-so and Congressman so-and-so, right? And at the end of the day, they're public servants. They're there to serve us. And because we put them up here on this platform, instead of really making sure that we understand the power dynamic. The power dynamic is I voted you in office, and so therefore you have to do something for me, right? And we could talk about how Black people don't vote, leverage their vote, but I want to stay on topic, right? So at the end of the day, whether I voted for you or I didn't, the people voted you in, and you still have an obligation and a duty to respond to the people. So then she begins to go on and talk basically through the idea that if we don't understand how Congress works, like we don't understand that certain bills and legislation that we want to see doesn't even make it to the floor of Congress because we don't understand how the process works, right? And so even as I'm listening to her and I'm thinking I have a pretty decent understanding of how the system works. And I'm listening to her like, oh shit, I need to go take notes. Like I saved that podcast. I'm going back to go and take some notes so that I can have a better understanding of like, where am I failing in my action? When it comes to how we start to get some things done, right? So I think it's important because what I feel like is happening or what I'm seeing is that you have the LGBTQ community who learned how to organize, even despite all of their, ultra flamboyant people who just act a fool and want to get mad and want to be reactive. Behind the scenes, they had an agenda. They know how, and they knew then, and they still are showing that they know how to move legislation forward. They know how to move things down the line. They even know when to kind of fall back and not say anything. I said that the governor of Colorado, he's a gay man. If you go back and look at his whole campaign, like that was not brought out at the forefront at all. Like it was, I'm not going to say that it was a hidden fact, but it was not something at all that was promoted. Obviously, that doesn't work for Black folks because you can see us, we're Black. But I think it goes to creating strategy where you can organize, understand how a system works, and then make moves and decide on your strategy. And so often what we have are people who are angry, and the same thing that I said with the call out culture. The reason why call out culture doesn't really work is because it makes people defensive. If we want to get something done on a legislative process or with policy, which is what needs to happen, how do we get that done if all we can do is play the angry black man or the angry black woman? It doesn't matter if there's validity in our anger, which there is. There's 500 goddamn years of validity in our anger, right? But how does that actually help us move the conversation forward? And so what I find is that a lot of us are not comfortable in certain spaces because not we know how to a certain extent we know how to code switch, right? At least some of us know how to code switch, but there's a good percentage of us who, at the end of the day, we don't really know how to be in both spaces, right? I can come in and I can be 100% me, and I can go into white spaces and I can still be 100% me, but I can also come in like not me like I'm from Oakland, me like I'm educated, I know exactly what I want, I know exactly what we need to be doing. I got boots on the ground, and we're gonna sit down and have a conversation so that we can move this, this situation in the right direction. Me, those are both me, right? So I find that we spend a lot of time making complaints, and then we don't actually move forward from there. So I'm getting ready to have to go because, like I said, I have this workshop happening. But one of the things that I'm talking about inside of this workshop is how you set goals and then actually accomplish them. And a good part of this is you have to move from Charles, I am not giving you a wrench, but hey, sorry, y'all. Look, you got me off my what I'm saying. How do we move from having a goal, having an agenda, into making it actually happen, right? And so part of that is having like the big, the bigger picture, and then we have to begin to break that down into smaller goals. And we have to know what step one is. And we have to be organized, and we have to create certain habits, and we have to make certain mindset shifts. But a whole lot of it don't got to do with just bumping our damn gums. And that's what I find that happens is we spend a lot of time just bumping our gums. We're not educated on the process, and we go a lot off of our feelings versus off of what reality is, right? So when I hear a whole lot of I feel, we need, and I think, and I'll be like, okay, but you think that based off of what? You feel that based off of what? You have people who make decisions purely based off of feelings and opinions, not rooted in any type of real fact. One of the things that I hate about feelings is the fact that your feelings damn change. They can literally change with the weather. Have you ever gotten up and it's a sunny day? You ain't got nothing on your plate and you just feel like super dope, right? And then you get up and it's a cloudy day and you feel like shit. Like feelings change. And it's not to say that feelings don't have a place, but you have to be mindful about what is affecting the way you feel. And if your feelings are rooted inside of any sort of reality, right? Like I can feel, let me give an example that may resonate with women more than it resonates with men. I don't know. I'm not a man. I don't know how y'all think. But here's something that I see that happens in women often. Women can get up and they could be feeling themselves. We could be like, ooh, I know I look good today, right? And then because we feel that way, we behave in a certain manner. There are days that we get up and we be like, I look like shit. Every insecurity you've ever had as a woman will come out, and it will show all over your face. It'll show in your posture. It'll show in the way you put yourself together that day. And it won't matter if a man comes up and tells you, baby, you're beautiful. If you don't believe you're beautiful that day, for whatever reason, you don't act in beauty, right? And some of the things that we've had to learn when we start these, My Black is Beautiful campaign and Black Magic and Black Girl Magic and all of these things is a promotion of the fact that we are in fact beautiful, right? And then you see the change in the way that we behave and the change in our pride. If I believe that I'm beautiful, despite on my worst day, despite on my, my hair might be messed up and I ain't got no makeup on and I'm on my period and just life is just, I'm 10 pounds heavier. Like if I believe that I'm beautiful, I'm going to behave that way, walking in a certain fact, despite however I might look. If I don't believe that, And I'm, if I don't believe that, then I'm going to act the opposite way. What happens when we base when we act purely on our feelings, and our feelings are not rooted in any fact? Our feelings are subject to change, and we have nothing to anchor them to. You have to anchor feelings to facts. And so when you find yourself feeling different, like if I wake up and I feel like I'm not beautiful, I have to anchor it back into the fact that, like, yes, I am beautiful. So I might not feel that way today, but I still have to hold my head up. I still have to hold my shoulders back. I still have to walk in that, because it's anchored to something that's a fact, right? So we can't just go off of feelings. We have to find truth and validity, and then anchor ourselves to that, and be able to act despite how we feel. Because oftentimes, how we feel is what trips us up. If you want to know why you don't reach your goal, you don't reach your goal because you act how you feel instead of going off of what you should be doing. Like, you might say, I need to lose weight and I'm going to go for a walk, and then you don't feel like going for a walk, and then you don't. So you act based off your feelings. And so feelings don't have to be what you do. When you learn the act of mindfulness, and really like coming into this space of recognizing how or why you feel a certain way, you can then make a decision to act in spite of how you feel. Men also feel that so many people put us down. So much. A woman is lying when she compliments. Okay, so cool. So you telling me men feel that way too? Hey, Deadpool81, thank you. You always saying I'm beautiful. I appreciate that. Yeah. So we become emotional, right? We become emotional, and as I said, I think there's space for that. But then what? And so we gotta stop. We gotta stop the complaints, right? Or if you complain, and then do something after that shit. Like, you can't just complain. So what I want to encourage you, because I got to get ready to go. Like I said, I'm going to take that moment to say, please subscribe, please share, please like. And I got to get ready to go because I have a workshop happening, and I got to make it all the way out to that on time. But what I want to talk about is just coming inward, like really looking inward. Here's one thing that I talk to people about when it comes to business. For some reason, I don't know if it's just because I do business, and then when people are around me, like, they feel the need to talk to me about like this business that they're never going to start. And I try to politely listen. I do. Here's the thing. If you're comfortable with your life, just live that life and be okay with that. So in business, I tell people, like, it's not easy to start a business. It's not easy to be consistent. It's not easy to build grit, to build discipline. Those things are not easy things, right? Everyone should have a business, but everyone is not an entrepreneur. And so if you want to live like that entrepreneurial lifestyle, that may or may not be for you. And so what I look at is, if you're a person who likes to go to work and come home and sit down on your couch and just watch TV, then just do that. What you shouldn't do is tell everybody that you're going to lose weight, get an extra job, buy this house, you ready to get started in real estate, you about to do Forex, you about to have this business, you can't wait to go on that vacation. Because you know what? You're not doing any of those things. And at the end of the day, they're not important enough to you to do, which is why you go to work, you come home, you sit on your couch. So like, live your best life. Just live that life. And then don't tell everybody all these dreams and things that you're going to do that you're not really going to do. So I feel like it's the same way with activism and with organization and with the Black community. If you are comfortable going to work with microaggressions, you're comfortable taking the risk of stepping outside your house every day and being comfortable with the racism that you experience when you're going to the store or going to the bank, going into a restaurant, right? If that life is comfortable for you, just live that life. Don't come on and talk about all the things you're gonna do, shoulda, woulda, coulda done, hey, y'all, we got to get it together. If you're not going to buy Black, if you're not going to participate inside the political process, if you're not going to lobby, if you're not going to vote, if you're not going to, put money towards the things inside of our community that's needed. If you're not going to, if you're not going to, if you're not going to, if you're not going to do anything, and all you're going to do is get on Facebook and like some posts and thumbs up and throw up the Black fist, like live that life and just say that, like, hey, y'all, I hope the fight goes well. Maybe y'all make some progress, but for me and mine, I'm just gonna go to work and I'm gonna come home every day and I'm gonna live my life, because at the end of the day, you're like the dog who slept on a nail. It hurt, but it don't hurt enough for you to get up and move. And that's cool, because at the end of the day, what really slows us down is not knowing who we can count on, right? Because y'all talk a big game, then you got people out here who expect a turnout, who expect people to come out and support. You ain't out there to support. You never was coming to support. You just put that shit on Facebook or put that shit on Instagram because it was something to say and something to do. And you spend more time being a Facebook or Instagram activist or a Twitter activist than you are a real life organizer and activist. And that's why we don't even know what our numbers is looking like. We got an army, or we think we got an army, and we turn around and we got a rank. We got a platoon. Like, we got a squad. We ain't got a whole army, right? So like, don't if anything, like, don't be that person, right? If you ain't gonna be part of the army, get out. Like, stop telling us you're gonna be part of the army. If you just want to sit back and complain, just state that. Like, look, I don't like this shit no better than anybody else, but I'm not willing to do not a damn thing to change it. Okay, cool. Now we know where you stand. You not in the army, right? But what happens is that we see all of these things. We got, somebody will throw out an injustice and it then got 2.5 million views and, 30,000 comments and people ready to go to war, but you're not really ready to go to war. So how do we know, those of us who are really on the ground, who are really fighting, who are really trying to exact and make change, who are really trying to sit here and organize, we don't even know who we working with. So we need to start separating the complainers from the doers. The complainers from the doers. But really, we all should just stop complaining, because at the end of the day, the same way you're going to tell your kids complaining don't get you nowhere. You end up, it's not even like you're that squeaky wheel, right? The squeaky wheel gets oil, like, not really. Not when you have somebody who ain't willing to do nothing about the squeak. We don't even squeak loud enough. We don't squeak loud enough, strong enough, or consistently enough for anybody who can make a change to actually come and bring the oil. So, it's like this intermittent complaining. All right. So anyway, y'all, I got to get out of here. Thank you for joining with me. I'm always down for some of the solutions. Jasmine said that's what I'm doing. Don't do that, Jasmine. Don't do that. But it's time for us to stop the complaining. It's time for us to do. It's time for us to have action. So I got to get out of here. I can't stay any longer. Otherwise, I'm gonna be late, and that's I don't be trying to be that Black. I'll be trying to be the other kind of Black, the on time Black, not the color people time. So just take some accountability inward, right? You ain't got to tell nobody nothing. Think inward about yourself, about what you actually do, about what you bring to the fight, about where you really stand. And my ask is then that you start walking in that. If you're ready to organize, like, get with some folks that's organizing and make something happen. If you not ready to organize, like, back up and shut up, because the noise don't help. The noise don't help. So anyway, all right, y'all. Hopefully you will like, share, subscribe. You can catch me at bbiprofessional.com. That page is actually being updated right now. So if you go there and you see the under maintenance sign, it ain't because we janky, it's because we're updating our site for real. So the site is being updated. You can also catch me at Grinding with Jice. If you want to work with me a little bit, you can get on Patreon at Grind with Jice. Or Patreon/Grind with Jice. You can go there. And of course, don't forget about the Black Agenda on tour. We are stopping at Detroit first. So if you are in Detroit, if you are in Brooklyn, those are our first 2 stops. All the tickets are on sale except for Chicago. Sorry, y'all. We've been struggling to kind of find a date that works for everybody for Chicago. So we're close, I think. I think we have a date we've nailed down. We're waiting for one more confirmation, and then hopefully we can release that date. But All the other dates are up there. All the ticket sales are open. But if you are in Detroit and Brooklyn, those are our first two stops. So head on over there, go and get your tickets. And definitely, I look forward to seeing you there. All right. Peace.